If I were to offer you two things right now, I'm interested in hearing what you'd pick. You could have unlimited bacon, but no games. Or you could have unlimited games, but no games. I'll sit and I'll wait and let you kind of decide and think about it while I take a swig of my blueberry drink. Ooh, blue raspberry, sorry. That's strong. Now that you've had some time to decide and realize that that probably doesn't make any sense, I'm going to move on with the video topic. We're talking about games still. We're talking about the crazy week that we had like a week and a half, 2 weeks ago with the Summer Games Fest, really from starting that Tuesday on Summer State of, was it the Summer PlayStation State of Play? Then we had Summer Games Fest on Friday. That Sunday was Xbox Games Showcase, and then the following Tuesday, 1 week after the State of Play, was the Nintendo Direct. And even now, we've got the update, I believe 2 days ago, or no, it was yesterday, that the GTA 6 pre-orders are actually officially going live on June 25th. We'll go ahead and talk about that. I always thought GTA 6 would eventually come. It was such a big franchise. It would eventually arrive. But it's just been really hard with all the delays and the lack of updates and just lack of general info. It was kind of hard to take it for the word that, oh yeah, it's definitely coming out this time. It's definitely coming out. It's one of those, I'm just not going to get my hopes up. There's so many other stuff coming out. I'm just going to wait and see, believe it when I see it. And it appears that might actually be a reality that we live in. We might have finally somehow shifted our multiverse into the one that GTA 6 does exist. For many years, we were in the multiverse where GTA 6 was not coming out that year. And maybe in some universes, they've had it for a decade. Hey, just be happy that you're not in the universe where it never comes. It looks like it's going to show up. Unless Jesus himself decides to come back, which, given the state of the world, he very well could. But he hasn't come back just yet, so for now, you might have time to put in your pre-orders on June 25th. So that's obviously going to gain a lot of attention, be one of the big releases of the year. We'll talk about that at the end of the video and talk about what that kind of means for like the game of the year and little predictions. We'll theorize there at the end of the video. But now we're going to go back and talk about, that week I was describing. PlayStation State of Play, some of the big hitters and things from that State of Play, they don't really sit with me like they did when I was first digesting it, after having time to digest it and kind of sit back on it. Initially, I thought it was a pretty decent show. I remember that was the most excited I've ever been for a PlayStation State of Play because of them hyping it up for a while and talking about how it was going to be in some theaters, I think in Texas and other locations, and it was a pretty big deal. They normally don't really, them and Xbox are not like Nintendo, where Nintendo, it's like a big deal, like when they release it and they're talking about it, it's like, it's huge. With PlayStation and Xbox, their game showcase and the State of Play, it's kind of just like, all right, cool, we'll see if we get anything. I feel like it's a lot more laid back. Again, maybe it's because I'm not in that sphere on social media, and I'm not hearing about it as much, but this one was pretty hyped. Even the non-PlayStation diehards were hoping for something. There was a lot of people tuning into this one hoping for something great. And I think for the most part, it was decent. I'll go ahead and preface this by saying I don't think any of the shows this week were bad shows. I think every one of them had something decent, at least. I don't think any of them were nothing burgers. The PlayStation State of Play, I think, benefited the most from being first because they have more exclusives than Xbox and maybe not as many exclusives as Nintendo. And of course, it wasn't as long as a Summer Games Fest. Summer Games Fest had the benefit of being, 2 hours and being able to show more and having more of a show feel. With PlayStation State of Play, though, you would have thought, like, okay, it was kind of a known thing that we were going to get some Wolverine gameplay or more shown, and we did. They started the show off with that. There was going to be a big reveal at the end. I thought maybe they could have shown Final Fantasy 7 Part 3 there. Maybe we would see, a new Resident Evil remake at the show, or maybe we would even see DLC for Requiem. We'd see something there. We didn't see anything Resident Evil like. We already saw Silent Hill Townfall. We knew it was coming out. They just dropped I think they had officially announced the release date for September, so that was neat. And then they also had Control Resonant. I think they officially gave it a release date. They had a lot of cool third-party stuff. One thing I was really excited for, I've never heard of the Onimusha series. I've already pre-ordered Onimusha on PS5 now because I'm pretty stoked. Generally, I like swordplay games, and like the Japanese games, or like samurai stuff, things like that. I hadn't heard of this one. And I think in general, if it weren't the fact that it was by Capcom, I still would have been like intrigued, but it would have been I'm going to wait a little later on down the road, like when I really don't have anything to play, or if it's on sale, something like that. We're in a year in the year 2026 of our Lord Jesus Christ, that when a preview comes on, or a game trailer, and I see the name Capcom, my ears perk up a little bit. They tingle. They get a little red. They get warm. My fingers start to tingle a little bit. They might go numb. That name means something in this day and age. Capcom has been on a heater. Everyone has been talking about it, not just myself, and we'll probably talk more about it later on in the video. When it comes to PlayStation State of Play, they showcased Onimusha. I think it was Way of the Sword. And when you look at this year, Resident Evil Requiem, I think, is the game of the year so far. Unfortunately, I have some worry that GTA 6 will take that away. I think GTA 6 could very well win it just solely off of name value. That game could be a whopping pile of dog doo-doo, but because it's the only game that 90% of gamers this year will play, that will simply win. Now, I do think another benefit is that a lot of the people, most of the fan base playing GTA 6 are casuals, and they're probably not the type of people that are going to be, game journalists or, voting for Game of the Year awards. Maybe that's speculation and just made up nonsense in my head. Who knows? We'll see. And again, we'll talk about the Game Awards later on in the year. But Resident Evil Requiem, I really hope wins. I think it deserves it because it is really incredible. The fact that they went from Resident Evil 5 and 6 that was just really going down the drain, and they brought it back with 7, and then Village, and the 2 and 3 remake, 3 remake, I know people don't like, but 2 was really good. The 4 remake, they've been on a heater, and then they made a completely new IP in Pragmata and absolutely knocked it out of the park. That, to me, is the second best game I played all year long. Now, that might get replaced by, when I finally finish Lego Batman Legacy of the Dark Knight, because I'm like 70-ish% of the way to the platinum for 100% completion. But anyways, the two, whether you want to look at it as 1 and 2 or 2 out of my top 3 games of the year Capcom has made, they've been on a heater. So when I saw their name at the beginning of Onimusha, I leaned forward. I hit the gamer and leaned forward because I went from casually viewing to a more, all right, I'm listening. What do you have to say? What do you have to show me? And I thought it was incredible. I thought it was really good. I think another thing that helped them was the playable demo for fans that weren't familiar with it. And I downloaded the demo, and it was kind of easy, and of course it was short because it's a demo, but I actually did enjoy it, so I'm intrigued, and I decided I'll give it a shot. It's not probably one I'll collect physically. Generally, that's for I try to keep that for some of my favorite games and series. So if this one does end up being an absolute heater, I'll just get the physical edition as well. But for now, we'll see. We'll take a risk. And so I was very excited about that. That was honestly my favorite thing from the PlayStation State of Play, was learning about Onimusha, because they did talk about it, I think in the Xbox Game Showcase or Nintendo Direct. They mentioned it's coming to other platforms, but because we got to see it first on PlayStation, that's where it left my mark. And I will be playing it on PS5, so we'll give some points to PS5. But after that, there was Stuntman Hollywood that got me up and out of my seat, because I thought the beginning of the trailer, I thought we were getting a new Fast and Furious game. And as a Fast and Furious fan, I saw the Paul Walker's original orange car from the first film, and I thought, I was like, oh my gosh, they're going back to the roots. This is great. And I had never heard of Stuntman Hollywood. I guess it's a PS2 era game. And I wasn't familiar because I wasn't really playing the PS2 a lot back in the day. I was a GameCube kid. So when I played the PS2, it was for like sports games or, WWE, stuff like that. And so I wasn't familiar, saw what it was. Then when I saw like the Miami, it was Hotline Miami stuff, and then Back to the Future, I was like, okay, this isn't Fast and Furious. What is this? And so I'm intrigued again. It might be something I get at some point, but probably not a day one purchase for me. I need to start being stricter about what I am going out and buying because I have a bad habit, believe it or not, of spending money on games when I already have games that I need to play and beat. And so that's why I have a lot of unfinished games, but I'm working on it. I'm better than I used to be. And what else from that? There was also Last Ronin was Summer Games Fest. Like this is what I'm thinking. Like I can't really remember much that's unique about that. I remember unique stuff from Summer Games Fest, even Xbox Game Showcase, of course, the Direct. The PlayStation State of Play was like good enough that I am not gonna remember it as being trash. But I think out of all of the showcases that week, like it was very consistent. Like I was never like bored out of my mind or being like, oh, this is a waste of time. But there's not really anything there that I was like, oh, whoa, losing my mind for. The closest thing would have been if that would have been a Fast and Furious game. But when I realized it was something else, I was like, oh, okay. And of course, like I said, Control Resonant getting a release date, Silent Hill Townfall getting a release date. Good stuff, but even if we wouldn't have got it at PlayStation State of Play, we probably would have gotten it at Summer Games Fest, so doesn't really mean that much to me there. And yes, of course, the last thing is the God of War Laufey, the spinoff with Kratos' wife Faye. I did a video on it on my main channel on Nog TV, and I'll link it down in the description or put up a link to go watch it like at the end of the video. And so I kind of briefly touched on it there, and a lot of the things in this week. I just dropped it yesterday. So there's some controversy around that. I guess I don't even know if you'd call it controversy, because I feel like controversy is when you do actually do something that's like, whoa, I don't know if you should be doing that, man. Like that's like something that could be perceived both ways as like morally wrong. This isn't even controversy. People are just upset because it's a woman saying it's woke or it's too liberal. But that's not controversial. Having a woman in a game, that's not controversial. There's nothing morally wrong with that, just because you don't like it. And I'm not going to fight tooth and nail for one side or the other. I'll give my take. Personally, it doesn't really look that interesting to me. I'm not gonna be buying it day one. I'm not saying I'm not ever gonna play it. When the God of War 2018 came out, it didn't look that interesting to me because I wasn't a God of War fan. But I came around and I played it eventually. Then I played Ragnarok. I actually like 2018 God of War more than Ragnarok. Maybe that's a hot take. I know a lot of people loved Ragnarok, but I like the first one more. I haven't played the original God of Wars on PS2 because they're different gameplay-wise, and I just don't feel the urge to play those. And much like that, I just don't, from what I saw from God of War Laufey, I thought that's not for me. And I think there are more gamers out there that just need to learn to be okay with looking at a game or a trailer and just being like, hey, it's not for me, and drop it. I'm not saying it's a bad game. I'm not saying it's a stupid game or that it's going to flop and not sell well, because I don't know anything about the game other than what they showed in the trailer. And there's going to be a lot of people that really love the game, and that's awesome. I'm glad they love it. And I think more people need to do it like that, instead of going out bashing the game and saying, well, this fundamentally is not what a game should be, and this is already doomed and destined for failure. And so it got a lot of talk because they say, oh, it's the same thing that Ghost of Yotai did, Ghost of Tsushima, which I really loved and is like a top 25 game for me, I think, if I really sat down and thought about it. It was great. I loved it. It was amazing. And Ghost of Yotai was not a bad game. I played about like 60 to 70% of Ghost of Yotai, and it, for the most part, it was a great game. Fundamentally, gameplay-wise, it was perfectly fine. I just kind of felt like it was too much just Ghost of Tsushima, but with a woman. And like I said, gameplay-wise was great. I think the story wasn't bad. I think the acting and the emotion put into it was everything. But I would have loved to see it go like a completely different direction, do something completely different, because all that game made me want to do is like, hey, I'm enjoying this game. This game's not bad. But now I kind of want to get the urge to play Ghost of Tsushima again. And I was thinking more about Ghost of Tsushima when I was playing it than I was in Ghost of Yotai. A lot of people get upset because, oh my gosh, like, fine, you can put a woman in a game, but she's got to be hot. She's got to be really hot, smoking hot model. She's just got to be really a real blessing to stare at the whole playthrough. And even to that, my response is, well, if you're playing your video games to look at attractive women, maybe you need to go outside. Maybe you need to, like, I don't know, find a woman in real life. As a married guy myself, I'm not playing games to look at women. Even when I was single, it wasn't really my preferred way of finding women was playing video games because they're not real. They don't exist. So, I don't really understand a lot of it. But again, I've already dabbled enough on that, and I don't need to talk more about it because it's just getting into the weeds at that point. But that's how I feel about it, because I feel like we live in a day and age where you have to address everything at some point, even if it's only very quickly and very a little small, dipping your toes in, because everyone is always like, well, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? What's your take? And if you don't give an opinion, people are going to assume one for you, or try to put 2 and 3 together and make it 7 somehow, and it just doesn't work like that. So that's how I feel about that, and trust me, there's more later on we'll discuss. When it comes to Summer Games Fest, I'll try to go quick with that because it was a 2-hour show. I'll be honest, I thought it was pretty solid. It's my favorite show of the week. Again, it had the benefit of being 2 hours, so it got more in it. My big complaint was the middle was a little bit slow. At the beginning, we started off with Resident Evil Code Veronica Remake. They just titled Resident Evil Veronica. Fine with me, but it looks very good. I had never, out of all the Resident Evil games, I've played a lot of the old and new, but I've never played the original Code Veronica because it's pretty difficult. It's a little old and dated, and I get the actual hardcore fans of the series really enjoy it, and I have tried to play it. But I also remember, I think that's the one where I got soft locked out of part of the game. And I just, anytime that happens to me, or get to the point where I'm just really not enjoying it, rather than just force it and, teach myself to hate the game. Like, you know what? I probably just didn't do something right. Or maybe this wasn't designed this way. I'm just going to stop before I ruin my opinion of this game and become bitter with it. And so, and I'm glad because now I'm really excited for the remake. And so I think it's very solid. It's a reimagining. It's not going to be 100% faithful, but it's going to be, I think, decently faithful to it. So very excited for that. I think that was a great start. Something we could have seen from PlayStation State of Play, but we didn't. So it was a great start to Summer Games Fest. A couple other things. The Last Ronin, dude. That was maybe my most hype. There was one more that I really loved that was my favorite announcement. I think. Back and forth between this and The Last Ronin, and you probably know what it is, some of you, but we'll talk about it at the very end. But this one was unexpected. This was easily my most unexpected surprise, favorite thing, because when I learned that they were actually making the Last Ronin game, because I heard about it years ago, someone told me about it, and I kind of did some research, looked it up, and had been kind of following it, trying to keep up with it, or the lack of updates, and just kind of, I even remember talking about it to my wife a couple months ago because I just randomly thought about it in a restaurant. We were sitting there after going to Target one night, and I remember seeing a Michelangelo figure in the store, and then that got me thinking about it. And later in Chili's, I was like, man, you know what? They never did. They still haven't released the Last Ronin game. And so that was just a couple months ago. And then they were like, I forgot what they said before that, and they're like, we're bringing a legendary franchise in with an established publisher or something like that. I'm like, they say that half the time for 50,000 things. It's like, they might say crap like that for High Guard. So I never really listened to the things they say beforehand because half the time it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't hold any water. This time, however, it held a pretty good chunk of water because when it started, it was the sewer, and I saw that it was Paramount Game Studios, which should have been a tell right there because already sewers, and then Paramount's biggest IP with the sewers is the Turtles, but it wasn't on my radar. I wasn't thinking of it. And it wasn't until they kind of slowly started to play the Turtle theme in guitar, and I was like, this sounds familiar. And I'm like, oh, I'm kind of, it's one of those, like, I think I knew earlier than I really did, but I didn't want to, like, think that's what it was and then be fooled and have the rug pulled out from underneath me and be like, dang it, it's something else. So I was kind of holding wait and see. But then when I saw the actual manhole cover and then the newspaper that's like the foot and it shows the sigh and the sword in the ground, the street signs in New York. And I was like, oh my goodness, I think I know what this is. And then, of course, it shows the moon and it reds it out and says The Last Ronin. Platinum Games is actually bringing us The Last Ronin video game. And I am so, so excited. I've never played a Platinum Games game, but, you know, they've done Ninja Gaiden 4, Nier Automata, or Automata, I don't know, Automatopoeia. I've never played it before. And I've never even played Bayonetta, and those are some of the big games they've done. So they're a well-known, established publisher and with good reviews. So I know the game will be pretty solid. And a lot of those games, some people said they're a little hard, or like the sword plays good, or, you know. So I'm sure there'll be a little bit of a learning curve for me. But for a game like Last Ronin, I'm absolutely going to take advantage of it and do everything I can to try to, you know, learn the game and be very good at it and just love it, enjoy it. I don't know when it's going to come out. I'm hoping next year. They didn't release, or they didn't give a release date. They didn't even say a year. They just kind of said, you know, join the, like, you know, subscribe to this thing to keep up with it and get the updates. And actually, personally, I didn't do that because I like to just kind of be almost a little out of the loop. You know, I won't start checking for updates unless it's been a couple years later. I'm like, okay, when is this coming? We haven't heard a peep about it. Is this still real? Like, kind of what I was doing with Last Ronin previously before this announcement. But now I'm like, okay, Platinum Games, they're going to handle their stuff. They know what they're doing. I have more faith in them. I don't remember who was initially going to be doing it, if it was them or someone else and they picked it up. But I think that's really exciting. So we'll see. Like I said, hopefully it comes out next year. But that was hype for me, man. And meanwhile, my wife actually, when she saw the sewers, looked at me and said, oh my gosh, they're making a Flushed Away game in 2026. And I think that's all that needs to be said about that. And moving on, I remember some other things. They did show more. I think they showed more Onimusha. They showed Wo Long. I think they showed like Amsterdam, New Amsterdam 1666. They showed a Stellar Blade 2 game. They showed Gundam. They showed so many games. What was it? I know that there's stuff that I really enjoyed for it, but I'm trying to think about the big heavy hitters that each one had, at least personally for me. I guess, obviously, the big one for Summer Games Fest. I think the two big, really, I guess it's hard to pick 2 out of the 3. I'll say the 3 biggest. I'll just make it a top 3 for Summer Games Fest, because really that's all I needed was Resident Evil Veronica Remake at the beginning. In the middle, we had Last Ronin. And then at the end, of course, Final Fantasy Part 3, now known as Final Fantasy Revelation. And I'll say this. I'm not going to claim to be the biggest Final Fantasy 7 fan. I wouldn't even say I'm a Final Fantasy fan. I'm just a Final Fantasy 7 fan. Specifically the remakes. But it was cool seeing social media blow up after that, because I don't even follow that many people that are, like, hardcore in that community. I follow a couple that, like, know what they're doing and, like, give updates. Like, I know one of the big ones is Maximilian Dude. I had a buddy that's one of his favorite games is Final Fantasy 7 remake. Like, he's loved this series, and so he introduced me to Maximilian Dude, and which also I saw that Hamaguchi-san went to his house for the stream, and, like, that was really cool. I was like, well, you got some insane motion if you got the creator of the game, of a big game, like big, huge AAA game, not just like an indie creator coming over to your place, like a big name like Hamaguchi-san coming over. That's crazy. So, you know, he's got some aura there. He's got some pull. He's got some influence. If you didn't know him by then, I think you know him now. And for good reason. I've heard nothing but good things from the guy. And even some of the stuff I watch, he seems like a pretty down-to-earth guy. So I'm happy for him. I know he doesn't know me, and that doesn't mean anything, but I'm happy for him nonetheless, because it seems like he deserves it. And so, getting back to the whole Final Fantasy VII crowd there, I didn't follow that many people that were like in those circles, but even people that I didn't know that were fans of that, or people talking about it that I didn't even follow, were just showing up. It was popping up all over my feed, and I thought that was really cool. People like even realizing like, hey, this is a big moment. Like, even if you don't play these games or don't like these games, this is huge. This is a big deal. Like, we've been waiting for a while. This is going to be a huge part of 2027, which is coming out next spring. I think that's probably for the better, because even though like the game looks like it, they showed so much of the game, it's probably like 99% done, and they're just doing polish and fine tuning, getting glitches and bugs out, just building hype at this point. They probably could drop it tomorrow if they really, really wanted to, and it would be better than most games that have come out this year, I would imagine. I hate to say it and bring it back to this, because as someone that has liked a lot of GTA games, I love GTA Vice City. That's one of my favorite games. San Andreas was a great game, and even GTA 5 was cool. I will play GTA 6, and I think it will be a fun game. But and maybe this is a topic for another video, I'm just worried people are going to blow it out of proportion, and at this point, it's been a meme for so long, and it's been talked about for so long, that like I've kind of seen that like I'm just losing excitement for it purely out of spite. Not even intentional spite. Like, I just am so like, I've been so burnt out on it, and everyone and their mother and their mother's boyfriend and their mother's boyfriend's mother is talking about GTA 6. And to be fair, it's just kind of overexposure to something that I am excited for the game. Like I said, I'll play it when it comes out, and I'll probably love it. I'm sure it'll be a great game. But at this point now, are we going to see GTA live up to the hype? Gosh, this is an insane amount of hype. So that's a pretty lofty expectation of me. And so why I was connecting that to Final Fantasy VII Revelations, because it just sucks, because this year is some of the best games I've had in a while. Like I said, I think Resident Evil Requiem would destroy any game that came out last year, would easily win Game of the Year last year. I know a lot of people liked Expedition 33. I'm going to be honest. I think that game was really overrated. Doesn't mean it's a bad game. It's a good game. Game of the Year, I think not. and even Astrobot, the year before that, pretty good game. Did not deserve Game of the Year. I think the last two Game of the Years have been some stinkers. Like I said, not bad games, just underwhelming picks. So Requiem, I think easily is best game out of the 2024, 2025 would win Game of the Year. I think that, well, I guess 2024 did have Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and I was really shocked that, I guess I wasn't shocked that it didn't win. I saw that one coming. I think it deserved to win, but even still, I would actually say I liked Requiem more than Rebirth, so I'd give it over that one. Pragmata would definitely have won last year for me. The year before, though, Pragmata or Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. This is definitely one I think more people would disagree with me on. I did like Rebirth. My biggest complaint with Rebirth was that it was just really long. And I know that might be the case with Revelation. It's going to be a lot to it. But I think that, and maybe it's because it's a sequel, anytime you get the middle part of any trilogy, that part's usually the one that's kind of like, it's not the beginning, but it's not the end, so it's just, it's in the middle. And it had a lot of good parts, but I also just really liked Pragmata. And I think those two games, and then, if we get, which we already got, Legacy of the Dark Knight. The thing is, it's a Lego game, so I don't see it having any kind of crazy, insane motion. I think too many people will discredit it or call it a kid's game simply because it's got Lego in it. And then if we end up, well, I don't want to talk about that because that's still later in the video, but there's some great games that I think are going to come out this year and be some incredible games that simply are going to get overshadowed because, again, even if GTA 6 comes out and it's like the IGN 7, it's going to be overblown. It's going to get talked about. Everyone's going to look back at 2026 as, oh, dude, that was the year that GTA 6 came out. And not when that's the banger that Requiem was, or Pragmatic made a big surprise. They finally released a good 007 James Bond. There's some good indie games that came out. Mouse PI for Hire, I thought was decently solid. There's been some quality stuff that's come out that unfortunately is just going to get the shaft because of GTA 6. And that's why, saying all this, I'm glad that Final Fantasy VII Revelation is coming out next year, because I think it's an early heavy contender for Game of the Year before it's even come out. I think it's going to have a lot of hype. And I am glad that now that GTA 6 has come out, now every year for Game of the Year, we can finally stop voting for GTA 6. I think it's crazy that GTA 6 was winning most anticipated Game of the Year before it was even formally announced. Like, it was an idea, it was a thought, it was a fairy tale, some legend and myth spoken about in campfires, and yet it was still winning actual awards against games that had been announced and were at least somewhatly real. Their existence was real. And I think that was kind of silly, but Summer Games Fest was a banger. It was great. Final Fantasy VII Revelation, I'm super excited for it. Moving on to Xbox Games Showcase, probably be a short one. And I'll say this, another reason why I wanted to make this video separate from the actual one I made on Nog TV is because that one, I recorded like every part of my video like the day after that show came out, and was kind of going along and edited it, and then I just scheduled it for for some fine tuning. I got behind because of working on the house and different stuff like that, new house stuff, and so it was like a week later than I would have wanted to, but I didn't really get to make a lot of last minute changes because it was mostly all done, and I didn't want to tamper with it too much. But one of the big things that changed was regarding a lot of the stuff I said about Xbox. I had spoken about how one of the it was like a minute-long section that I did cut out because, and that's one of the only changes I made. I didn't get to really re-record new stuff, so I just cut that out because I thought they didn't age very well. I had put in a little intro when I started talking about Xbox Games Showcase, speaking about that I was actually thoroughly impressed with Asha Sharma so far. I thought Phil Spencer was a big reason in that era of the Xbox One and so far in the Series X and S lifespan that they've just been losing so much of their aura, and they've been going downhill way, way insano fast. And I thought it was depressing. I was never a big Xbox fanboy. I've always been leaning more towards Nintendo. But during the 360 and PS3, even with the Wii out, like I love the Wii, and again, I was a big Nintendo kid. But the 360 was definitely my favorite console of that genre, and it's probably a top 3 console for me all time, and one that I have so many memories with, and it was insane. And I think it made a lot of people Xbox fans. Like, yes, people were around for the original Xbox, but that was their start. That was the humble beginnings. The 360 was what like brought them to the forefront of the gaming industry. And I talked about how like I've dogged on Xbox a lot lately, as of a lot of people. But I don't want them to suck. I don't want them to be bad. I would love for them to come back and make a name for themselves and be a somebody in the games industry, because we need competition. I don't believe in tribalism and saying, oh, Nintendo, PlayStation, Xbox, you guys, you're all in your own camps and you got to hate everyone. I think the idea that people do that online is, for one, it's just silly. And two, a lot of it's just for clicks and likes, and, those guys would never say that kind of same stupid dumb crap in real life to someone's face. It's easy to get behind a keyboard, but I'm just yapping now. You already know that. And so I talked about that. I think it's fine. Like, I want them to do well. And hey, I wanted to root for Asha Sharma, maybe fresh start. I thought she had done some things right, bringing Game Pass down a little bit, even though it's still more expensive than it was. It's a step in the right direction. And some things that sorry, my face is a little sour because my blue raspberry drink is really sour. Anyways. Some things I had mentioned in the Xbox Game Showcase. I said, I recently sold my Series S a couple months ago. I had it a couple years as a gift, and it was only to play Halo and Forza. Well, now they announced that Halo is coming to PS5, and Forza, although not day and date, like on release day, it will eventually come to PS5. The Forza Horizon 5 came to PS5, and Horizon 6 is going to be coming to PS5, I think later in the year or early next year. And that's fine, I can wait on that. And so I said I was really just, I didn't like buying digital games. At the time, Game Pass had gotten more expensive, so I got rid of my Xbox S, and now I just have my PS5 and my Switch, and, sometimes I game on my PC for recording. I don't need an Xbox Series S. That's too many consoles, not to mention all the old retro ones I collect and try to play on. So I don't need that many. There's no reason for it. There's no exclusives anymore. And I was like, you know what? If they pull the right moves and do some stuff right, I might have to bite the bullet and save up for an X, even though they're crazy expensive, or just wait for the next Xbox console. And when the showcase came out, I thought they did pretty decent. I was kind of surprised. I said all I really wanted was a Halo release date, which we got lots of good gameplay for it. We're getting 3 brand new like prequel missions set before the actual events of Halo, the first Halo campaign. Unfortunately, there's still no multiplayer, which does suck. But hey, I said I really want this to do well because maybe we'll get remakes of the later ones. And if it does well, but people also speak up and it's like, hey, I think we could make this do even better if it had multiplayer, maybe we can get it in there for a Halo 2 remake or Halo 3 remake would be awesome. Or even maybe Halo Reach. I know that people would be upset and salty about that because they love Reach and they love 3, but they are getting older. They're not getting any newer. And so I want them to do well for that reason, and it'd be really cool. And then I think I had said that that was really about it, just release date, and we got that. And so after that, anything else is really just bonus. It's an add-on. And even though I'm not going to be getting it because it's probably going to be limited and crazy expensive, I thought the Xbox, the 25th anniversary console, it was pretty freaking fire. It was pretty solid, if I do say so myself. I like the translucent green on the Xbox X. I like how it's got the white and black bumpers on the remote for the Duke, throwback to the white and black buttons, and then even the buttons are colored like the original, like red, yellow, blue. What is it? Yeah, red, blue, yellow, green, and it's really cool, and I think it looks great. And the console, like I said, it's going to be limited and expensive, and I'm sure that people will scalp it and sell it for even more. They said they are going to sell the controller exclusively, or not exclusively, but independently as well. So maybe I'll try to get one of those just on its own to use for my PC when I'm gaming on Steam or whatever. So I'm very excited about that. Right now I have the Forza. It's plugged in. I forgot about that. Okay, it's plugged in, it's charging, so but I have the Forza Horizon 5. I think it's Horizon 5, the yellow one with like it's translucent yellow with the pink and blue splatter. Sorry about that, controller. My bad. I didn't realize you were plugged in. But I have that one, and so it's really cool, but definitely if I got the 25th anniversary controller, I'd use that one. So even though I don't have an Xbox, I can still make use of the controller. And yeah, that's about it. What happened was, after saying all those nice things and talking it up and trying to be a real positive Pete about it all, then apparently a couple days ago, they announced that they were letting go and shutting down Ninja Theory, who had recently, like, at that showcase, announced a new, what was it, Senua Hellblade something? I forgot the name of it, but Hellblade something. They announced a new game, and that's not going to be a thing anymore now unless someone else picks it up, which I don't know if they will. They also, I don't know if they did shut down other studios or they had mentioned shutting down other studios, but just a big mess of like, oh, okay, you talked the talk, but then when it came to walking the walk, you showed your true colors later on. And I'm not saying they're back down in the dumps and they're in the mud, but, you know, I've even seen this from like actual Xbox fans, people that have every right to, you know, try to be optimistic and pretend like it's not that big of a deal. Or even them were, even they were kind of disappointed by it and like, yeah, this is a slap in the face. It's not a good sign. It kind of sucks. So I took some things out that didn't age very well about me being like, they have a good shot. They're only doing things in the right direction right now. They can really do this. I did think it was cool that they did give away the Xbox 25th anniversary consoles to people that had attended their showcase like in person, and specifically for the fans, not the media, the fans. I think that's cool, but also they're a multi-million-dollar or billion-dollar company. They can stand to give away some free consoles for some good old PR. I'm not saying I think that's still awesome. I think that's a great thing to do. I'm not going to pretend like that alone atones for all of their previous sins, but I mean, it's still pretty cool. And moving on to the last show, the Nintendo Direct. I'll try to be brief with this one as well, because the last couple times I've said that I wasn't very brief. With the Nintendo Direct, I'll be honest, I went in with insane expectations. Well, actually, that's not even true. Scrap that. I didn't really go in with insane expectations. I just went in there with, like, modest expectations. When I say insane, All I really wanted was for the Ocarina of Time remake to be real, and then like one or two things. I guess looking back, it should have been insane, but in the moment I was like, I'm not even. It's not like I'm asking for a new 3D Mario, new 3D Zelda, plus Zelda remake, plus new Luigi's Mansion, plus Pikmin, new Pikmin, plus all these Switch 2 editions, plus like 8 new games added to GameCube NSO, plus a new Mario Party, plus Smash Bros, and all that stuff. It was like, just give me the Ocarina of Time remake, and then like one maybe like I definitely wanted a game or two on the GameCube NSO. Like they already announced Mario Sunshine at some point. Maybe a Mario Party game on there, Mario Kart, Smash, like some of those I definitely wanted, but it wasn't like I wanted a laundry list of things. And it was some of their stuff that makes sense to put on there anyways. They've been drip feeding onto the GameCube collection. They've got like 6 games on there: Wind Waker, Luigi's Mansion, Fire Emblem, F-Zero, Soul Calibur, Wario World, and Final Fantasy. That's 7. Oh, well then the it's not 2 Pokemon games. I think they only have XD Gale of Darkness. So 8. What is that, like 8? If I'm missing and he'd let me know. 8 games on there, and it's been out for a year, and it showed up with 3 of them. So in the last 12 months, they put out 5. So that's like one every 2 months. Something on there would have been nice. But I'm not even asking for a whole feast. I'm just asking for scraps, man. Just anything, just something. And split opinions on this one. A lot of people love the Direct. If you were a JRPG or RPG fan, if you weren't, I hope you're a Zelda fan at least, because the Zelda Ocarina of Time remake is real. They saved that for the very last announcement. Everything outside of that was third parties that had already been out to other systems, or things we've already known were coming to Switch 2. It was like little indie, not even indie, but just like small developer games, things that like, okay, neat, like crazy, it's all right, but nothing wild, nothing to freaking knock my socks off or get my trousers wet. It's something. And they did announce Kingdom Hearts 4, which I think is incredible for Kingdom Hearts fans. I've never played the Kingdom Hearts fans because I didn't grow up, never really was into that like anime vibe, and also just didn't grow up with Disney. It's kind of one of those I might try at some point. I'll be honest, and this will make one of my friends particularly happy. I don't even think I've talked to him about this yet, and I don't even know if he'll watch this video because it'll be like near an hour long. I have actually considered, and this made me think ever since the Nintendo Direct, I've never been a Xenoblade guy. I've never played any games. I always thought they sounded too long or just too much to do for me. I respect them for what they are, and I think they're probably incredible games, I'd imagine, if I played them. But I've never once had an inkling of a thought to play them. We're getting a definitive edition of Xenoblade Chronicles for the Switch 2 edition, and then the Switch 2 edition for Chronicles 2, and then one more for Chronicles 3. I think they just recently did for Chronicles X. I think it already gotten a Switch 2 edition, I want to say. So like every Xenoblade Chronicles game on Switch 2 will have a Switch 2 edition, and I think that's pretty cool. And then they also got a brand new Xenoblade Genesis, like a big prequel game announced. That's like Xenoblade fans were eating. I said in my other video, and I still stand by it, that I think Xenoblade fans, specifically if you just go into a deeper niche of RPG and JRPG fans, I think the Xenoblade fans had the best Direct and maybe the best showcase or the best like individual moment of the week, because all 3 of I can't talk. They got 3 games that all got a new version and new features and stuff on the Switch, and then got a whole new game. And I think really it doesn't get much better than that. You might be able to compare that with like Kingdom Hearts, all 3 games coming to Switch 2, but also getting a new game in Kingdom Hearts 4, and then of course Final Fantasy 7. There's a couple big things there, but I think that's one of the best moments in there in the Direct. And what I was saying about Xenoblade is that for the first time ever in my life, after watching that Direct, ever since then, I've kind of been pondering on the possibility of maybe going through and trying to play the Xenoblade Chronicles games just to see what the hype is about, because not only one of my best friends plays the game, Another YouTuber I've worked with before and taught to somewhat frequently, Cade Jewelers, is a big Xenoblade guy, and they've only ever had incredible things to say about Xenoblade. And so I feel like it's probably a good series. These are guys that I trust their opinions very much, and they've spoken very well about it. I've never heard a bad thing about Xenoblade. It's you either haven't played Xenoblade or you have and you love Xenoblade. So it's something I'm thinking about. It would definitely be next year because there's too much coming out this year and there's a lot of stuff on my backlog. But for right now, outside of Final Fantasy, 7 Revelation, and then like if Last Ronin comes out, and then I think the Veronica remake. So there's like 2 or 3 things maybe on my plate for 2027. Hey, I think it's a good shot for a Xenoblade to slide in there. So that's something I'll be doing. But of course, the main thing I'll be talking about for the Switch stuff is Nintendo Switch Sports Resort is coming, and you can thumb wrestle. So that's cool. Actually, I don't really want to spend any time on that because they spent enough in the Direct. Ocarina of Time remake. That was something I was kind of surprised. Most real life people are pretty excited about it. I say real life because there were some people online that I'm not saying you don't have to be crapping yourself because you're so excited for the Ocarina of Time remake. But I think you need to at least realize it's a big deal and it's something that's going to change gaming. I think that it would be a little naive of me to try to sit here and pretend like it's on the same level as GTA 6. I think the original Ocarina of Time is, and for the foreseeable future will be regarded as the greatest game ever. But GTA 6 has a lot of hype. It's very anticipated. But an Ocarina of Time remake is just that. It's a remake. So I get that. It's not an original game like GTA 6. But if you're just removing any kind of like asterisks or categories out of the way and just saying, hey, GTA 6 releasing this year, Ocarina of Time remake, I absolutely think that they can be at least in the same league. I'm not saying that the remake is going to sell as much or even better than GTA 6, but if you've noticed, nobody's releasing their games in November. Heck, even October's a little bare. September is loaded. I'm going to be losing a lot of money in September and not really hardly leaving the house. I'll either be doing a crap ton of videos over everything I'm playing, or you won't get anything from me for September. It'll have to be a lot of backlog stuff from, July and August because I'll be so busy actually playing games. That's probably what it's going to be like in September. And football season starts, I'm going to be up to here. I won't be able to breathe with all the stuff that I'm doing in September. I'm excited. But October, there's not really a whole lot of anything. Modern Warfare 4, November as GTA 6, and some kind of Barbie game. I think people are like, oh, it's like Barbie Oppenheimer, but it's Barbie GTA. Kind of making jokes. I think Barbie's a game that can get away with it because nobody that plays the Barbie games is going to be playing GTA. So there's no overlap. I think you're perfectly fine releasing that game. But Ocarina of Time remake is one game that can absolutely release in late October or that like November range and actually go head to head with it. Again, I'm not saying it's going to win, but I think it'd keep it close. And I don't think people realize, a lot of times people like to write off Ocarina of Time like, oh my gosh, it's a game for old heads. It's boring. Legitimately, I work at a game store and we had people coming in. I think I worked the day after that Nintendo Direct on a Wednesday. We had like 10 to 15 people coming in by Switch 2s that day, which is a lot for one day. That was like half our stock that came in and bought Switch 2s. And out of those 10 to 15, I'd say probably like, we'll just meet in the middle and say like 12, 13 people. I would say probably like 10 of those 12 people mentioned how they explicitly were coming in to buy a Switch 2 just to play the Ocarina of Time remake. My wife's stepdad, we were watching He-Man the other day, and we were at Buffalo Wild Wings, and he mentioned how he wants to get a Switch 2 because he heard about the Ocarina of Time remake, and he doesn't plan on using it for anything outside of that. He just knows he needs a Switch 2 before the Ocarina of Time remake comes out, and that alone is like a reason people are going to be buying the system. They will pay $500 for a system to be able to play one game. Now, I think that GTA 6 is a game that people would do that for and will end up doing that for because, spoiler alert, it's not coming out on PS4 and Xbox One. So, but also by this point, most people have a PS5 or a Xbox Series S or X. So I think that game's going to have a lot of motion, and I kind of hope it. I mean, I'm rooting for it to come out in November, or at least October, somewhere around there. That their big holiday game. I'm sure it will be, but I don't know what they're waiting on. So we'll see. That's all for the shows, really. Again, I know I talked for almost an hour. Though, oh, I don't know how I forgot this. There is one more thing I forgot. One of the things during the Summer Games Showcase was Stranger Than Heaven from RGG Studio. I've talked about this, how I became a huge Yakuza fan. The Like a Dragon series, Yakuza, whatever you want to call it. I've been a big fan recently from last year when the Switch 2 came out and there was breadcrumbs on that console. So I picked up some third parties. I tried Cyberpunk and wasn't really vibing with it after a couple hours. So then I moved to Yakuza 0 Director's Cut. I freaking loved it. I'm going a little far into the series. I know this is kind of rambling, but I've played all the games. Some of them I really loved and were my favorite games ever. Some of them were kind of but even the games that were were still objectively good games. And so I'm very excited for this kind of set way back prequel for the games. It's kind of its own thing, but it's still in that universe. That's how they do a lot of their spin-offs. I've noticed is that they call it a spin-off, but it's still set in the universe. It's just not with those known characters. I'm sure it'll make references or have Easter eggs or things like that. They love to connect all their games together, but it won't be a Yakuza or a Like a Dragon game. It's Stranger Than Heaven. And people have known for a while. They've announced that Snoop Dogg is going to be in the game. That's all fine and dandy. But then they also announced that Tupac himself is in the game. And that, to me, is also fine and dandy with me. I don't really care because, spoiler alert, it's not up to me. And spoiler alert, the people that it is up to, they also don't care. They talked about, how on the show Snoop Dogg addressed it. The game creator, I forgot his name, addressed it. And then he even did an interview like a week later with different, I think a magazine or two or a game journalist or two. And they talked even further in length about how it wasn't even there. Like, they had thought about it and they thought it would be neat, but they never seriously went after it. And it was Snoop Dogg because he was like, hey, like, I think he would be great for this. And I'm friends with him, friends with his estate. We're really close. We work together. Snoop Dogg was the one that reached out to the estate. They were all for it. His family, his estate, whoever. They got permission from both people to own, like, his music and his, like, financial, that side of his career, but then also just his actual family. They got permission from both, and both parties were like, yeah, absolutely, go for it. Let's do it. Everyone's being compensated for it. Everyone's being, they got consent and permission, everything. Everyone's giving it the green light. But yet you had all these people, and this one makes, I guess, a little more sense than the God of War outbreak, because with this one, like, yes, there are some industries that are abusing AI, and, like the thing with, there was the actor they were AIing him into a movie, because I guess, it was a big name, was it Patrick Swayze, maybe? I know it was an older actor that had been in a couple bigger things-ish. I think that might have been it, maybe. Correct me if I'm wrong. But there's some instances where they kind of do some things that are a little shady or sketchy, and I'm like, I think the people, like, that have gone and come and passed, just let them kind of rest, and then, save these spots for people that are actually looking for the job. I will say, I don't think that entirely applies to games. For movies, yes, because movies, you can only have so many actors in a movie and so many roles, so much talking time, because you're limited to what people will have the attention span for on a movie screen, or stuff like that. And you have to make it cohesive and make sense. And so I think that in a movie, and it's also real people that people are playing, actors are playing, they need the roles, they need money, and they're trying to win awards and different things like that, advance their career. There's certain things that actors can do that AI cannot. I'm big on, like, not using AI art. I think we should try to use actual creators, especially at least if you're using it to, like, monetize. I think trying to, like, be like, oh, I'm a big AI artist. For the most part, I'm pretty anti-AI. I think there's some areas and some fields where it absolutely can be used alongside human talent and human skill, work together to actually do things and make things productive. I'm not a fan of data centers or kids learning everything through ChatGPT and that being the only way you look things up. But in this case, it just kind of feels like fake outrage. I really don't think it's that big of a deal. I would understand absolutely if they were just like, hey, we went and put him in this game before we got permission and they weren't really okay with it and they're kind of outspoken how they didn't want us to, but we did it anyways and we're probably not going to pay them as much as they want, but we're going to do it anyways. Or if it had been someone that had been like really controversial, they were like, whoa, even if you got permission, I don't think it's a good idea to put him in there. But like, Tupac, I mean, I guess any celebrity or anyone in Hollywood, you could always dig up some kind of accusation or something. I'm not saying he was perfect. No one is. But let's not pretend like, it's not like they're putting in, Donald Trump in the game or something. I don't know. There's a lot of names you can throw out, people that, whether you like them or not, they have said and done controversial things, and putting them in a game could be problematic. It's Tupac, man. Like, come on, he's a big part of, pop culture, even past. So I don't see the issue with it. I think it's all a little bit silly, but I just wanted to talk about that because, again, I think it's worth mentioning that is a thing, and I really, really hope that they don't, like, review bomb it like they did with Kiwami 3. I thought Kiwami 3 was really fun and incredibly good, but I only ever hear people online dog on it. And I've even seen the reviews on Steam. It says like, oh, mixed reviews. Some players of this game don't enjoy it. It's like, no, it's not that you didn't enjoy the game. You were just upset. Yes, they had hired one of their voice actors who had actually been accused, and with pretty good evidence, some sexual assault allegations. And yeah, that sucks. That is pretty crappy. I'm absolutely against that. But also, like, the game was still fun. I can look at that and be like, that's terrible, that's wrong, I hate that, I do not like that, that is bad, let's get rid of that, and still enjoy the game. It doesn't mean if you play and enjoy the game that you must be all for assault and domestic abuse or whatever. Crazy I have to address that, but it's the world we live in today. So after an hour of ranting, I'm gonna hop off here and quit ranting. So thank you guys. That's the last week we had. I was not planning on talking about that for an hour, but there was a lot of stuff to yap about. And I wanted to yap a little bit longer than what I got to in my actual Nog TV video. And that'll probably be what I do for a lot of videos when I drop one on there. Is this will be more behind the scenes stuff, talking about stuff that I couldn't fit in there, and it just would have been more ranting. So, thank y'all. I appreciate you. Go play games.